want our police to be out there not having what they need in order to survive, but we also don't want them to think they're so high and mighty and can be up on a high horse that they can do whatever they want.
Yeah, it's about that time, you already know. Turn the speakers up, man, it's time to stop the show. John Tanner, Ryan Righteous, DJ Jeremiah. We bringing the heat, man, this joint be fire like, bruh. We in the field, we in the field, bruh. We in the field, we in the field. Just put it in work, we raising the bar. You tuned in to the Trackstarz.
Yeah, back in the field with the Trackstarz, Ryan Righteous, Sean Tanner, DJ Jeremiah. Let's go.
All right, this segment is sponsored by the release, The Battle Within Part 1 by Ezekiel Garcia. Make sure you check out The Battle Within Part 1. If you like Battle Within Part 1, you're probably going to love Battle Within Part 2. Make sure you check it out, all right?
Hey, and also, if you guys like this live show and you want to be a part of it, you want to advertise with us, show your video, whatever, hit us up. We do have ways for you to buy ads into it if you want to be a part and get your message out there. All right, so next topic. This has been a heavy couple weeks here. So a lot's been going on about this Defund the Police movement. Of course, Donald Trump has been shooting it down. There's been a lot of people having it on signs, and that's kind of been fueling it. Joe Biden got asked about it. He said he didn't support it. The mayor got asked about it in Minneapolis, didn't support it. A lot of people are calling him to the carpet. People like King are saying that they're part of the problem, blah blah blah. So it's becoming a bigger and bigger deal. What do you guys think about defund the police, and do you even know what it means?
Go ahead, Jeremiah.
That's mean.
That's not how this goes. You know how this goes.
Yeah,
I won't put you on the spot, but do you know what it means?
I've heard of it. Okay, so somebody told me that it means. One person told me that it's like taking funds that police would use for like pensions, their different things that they use, not just them getting paid, but use for like after being a police officer, taking that and giving it to the community. I heard that one. I don't know if that's true or not.
Okay, so Propaganda, part of our community, he did a video on it. So let's see what he thinks, and then we'll come back and talk.
Okay, boom, properly done city budget. Now, take the idea if this is a city budget. The idea is really not that revolutionary. What you got? Housing, you got, parks and recs, you got education, then you got the police budget. For real, in LA, the police budget look like this. Now, nobody's saying take all their money. That's ridiculous, because crime still happens. Maybe take some of that and put it towards more housing, because a lot of times you're dealing with housing issues because you're talking to homeless people. Maybe take some of that money, put it towards drug rehab, because a lot of times somebody break into your house, they trying to steal a PS4 for a hit. They ain't really trying to rape your kid. Maybe take some of that money towards some mental health experts. A lot of times you don't need a cop, you need a therapist. Take some of that money towards after school programs and education, because a lot of times it's idle hands that cause a lot of crime. Now, instead of having all these money to buy tanks, you can put money towards other stuff that may make the city safer anyway. Let the cops just deal with crime.
All right, so that's his interpretation of defund the police, okay. And that's, I don't know if the first people who held up the sign that's what they meant, but that term defund, that's what it means. Now, it's a dumb phrase, guys. It's a dumb phrase. It's a pretty dumb phrase. Defund the police is just, it's so confusing. It sounds really bad, and it's just too hard to explain. It's just a dumb phrase to be using. That's just my opinion of it. When I heard it, even after it was explained to me, it was just like, it's still a dumb phrase. Defund is just, it sounds so bad. It sounds so negative.
Yeah, it doesn't sound
What's interesting is that I do think most people actually agree on the core message of it, though. I was at a meeting where we had with the police in our church, and that question came up to the chief in our town, and they said, "What do you think about that?" He says he doesn't think it's going to catch on, but he says that I do agree that we need to put more money towards things that'll help these communities, like everything that Propaganda just said. Because a lot of the reason why you need so much policing in some of these areas is because there are such lack of resources. There aren't a lot of, things in the community for kids to do. They feel like they're depressed and trapped and all those kind of feelings you have when you feel like you don't have what other people have. So it may cause more issues where the police need to be. And a lot of things the police are doing shouldn't be their job. Dealing with mental health issues, dealing with all kinds of things that shouldn't be their main job. It should be just about crime. So the chief even agreed with that when we asked him. It's like, yeah, I agree that needs to happen. Now, I don't think he agrees the money should be coming from him, but I do. They do see the need for some of those programs to exist to help the problems that police end up having to come and fix. So, but just marketing wise, this phrase sounded like it was cooked up in a Russian crack house. Like, defund the police. It's just so easy to fight against that phrase because it sounds so negative. You know what I mean? I would hope.
What's in a Russian crack house?
Bad phrases. I don't know. I would want it to be more like reimagined policing. To me, that's what
that
you
doesn't
mean.
sound sexy though. That's
what you mean, right? A lot of these people, like in Minneapolis, they said they were going to defund the police and disband the police, whatever. What they really mean is, let's try and rethink this and see if there's a better way to do it, right? And I think most people would be like, oh yeah, that's fine, as long as you're not. The phrase just doesn't work. People, it just doesn't work. It's too difficult to understand. What y'all think?
I mean, I definitely think that you're attributing some unfair practices toward a lot of good police officers that are out there serving and protecting, right? And so that's why I don't see. It doesn't surprise me that none of the politicians support this, or even the mayors or governors, because you're turning on the people that protect, right? And if you do that, then you're just going to cause unrest with them, and that's going to make the job even harder, right? They're going to get paid less money, right? What happens if they get pay cuts or they get laid off, right? Then you got
anarchy.
Yeah, you got craziness going on. So I don't support that, and I think that it's easy to say this. I think it's just a shake-up conversation, right? What if we did this? And that happens with every big, problem or big crisis that we face. What if we did this? What if we didn't have that? So I think that's what this kind of falls in line with. So no, I don't think it's going to ever go through, but I do support the fact that we should put more money towards programs like after school care, after school programs and mental illness awareness and all those different things, because I do think that there's money circulating in communities where those things can be paid for. Either they're not budgeted for it when it's the proper time to do so, or they use that money for something else. So I think that's what really needs to happen. Because I know, police officers that are friends of mine, and I want them to be protected when they're out there. I have a friend that's a police officer, and he tells me that he gets into a fight because he has to either run somebody down or, like chase them when he says, hey, stop. He has to chase them down. He has to get into a fist fight. And I want him to have the best gear because he's got 2 small children at home. So I want him to make sure he gets back to his family. And so I don't want him to be, out there with a lack of resources. And so I think that's important for us as citizens and taxpayers, that we make that aware. Like, we don't want our police to be out there not having what they need in order to survive, but we also don't want them to think they're so high and mighty and can be up on a high horse that they can do whatever they want. And so we try to send a message, and that message is kind of like a broken ripple. Like it doesn't really land anywhere because it doesn't have substance to it.
But you do agree, though, that regardless of where the money comes from, whether it comes from their budget or some more money is poured in, that those programs in these communities would help, right? Like, I think that would help with some of the issues that they're having. Is take some of the burden off of the police to handle things that are non-violent and non-important to them, and let that be something that communities can handle. So I agree with that part of it. But you know what's interesting? I would just add this. I don't know if everybody. It shocked me. Do you know? Because somebody asked, where do the tanks come from? Have these big tanks. They ride down the street.
The SWAT team.
Blah, blah, blah. SWAT team tanks and stuff like that. Did you know where that money comes from?
Where?
It comes from drug money.
Because they seize
drugs and assets and money, like $500,000+ they're talking about. they seize that stuff, and then it goes through a court process, and then if they meet all the guidelines and they spend it the right way, they get to keep it, and they get to buy stuff like tanks with it. That's where a lot of the money comes from.
Where else does the money go?
It's really equipment, cars.
You know what I'm saying? Like, where else would if you seize, 100 some kilos of cocaine and that street value is XYZ, and you get rid of that stuff, or you find money like that, in like a drug dealer's raid, where else do you expect the money to go? It's not
Maybe
going
that
to
needs to go back into the programs. Maybe that needs to go back into the community. And
what if this is all a cycle? What if it's a cycle of like the police is there? I've heard police conspiracy J. Every time I do that from now on, I'm gonna say conspiracy J. Like police, drug dealers. The drug dealers get caught, then they use the drug money to beef up the cops situation versus the community, versus giving that money back into the community, or instead of just beefing up like you ready for war against civilians. But I say this is what I thought about, based off what propaganda just showed, which was awesome. What if we did that with, how police have people they talk to when like a bank is being taken over and they got demands and they talk to that person. What if they have a mental illness, like counselors, where if they get a call, they go out with a police officer and they're talking to the police. The police officer is, trying to seize the situation. And then they have something where they have somebody there that talk that person like down or talk that person out of a situation if they have mental illness. And what if they have something where they have a community outreach? The police have community outreach where they use that funds for the community. So where they use the police officers get to know the community, tell the community to come out to this location. We're not going to arrest nobody. We just want to get to know the community so we can have identity of who's who in the community. So when I'm patrolling the community, I know Jeffrey who lives at 15th Street. I know such and such who lives on Amherst Street. So when they give those calls, I don't have to use brute force on these people because I know them and we can have a conversation and stuff like that. Or why don't we have funds for different things? So instead of like you said, the drug money to beef up security or beef up your guns and your artillery, maybe you use that for the community. You know what I mean?
That's actually kind of already happening. I mean, there's a viral video of a white police officer who knew every black kid at a convention center because he hangs out there. He talks to them. He gets to know them. So when he goes by, like I remember seeing him drive up one day and he parked his car and he got out and shot basketball with them, because they knew him. And so he started doing this when they were like 7 and 8. So when they were 14 and 16, they respected him. Right? They didn't fear him. They respected him. So now that he's at this point where he can see them getting in any trouble, or he can go and talk to their parents and be like, hey, Michael needs to sit down and stop doing this, that, and the other. I see him hanging out with a bad group of people. You now can be part of the village that helps raise these kids. So I think that's being done.
That's why I think the phrasing is just so bad. It's to me, reimagine policing is more in line with what you want to do, because in some cases it may mean reducing the police budget and putting it to these things, or it may mean redistributing, instead of giving an incentive to people who may not have the best intentions to so they're looking for drug money everywhere so they could get new tanks and stuff. Maybe use that money. The incentive is to use that money to go back in the community and build programs and things like that. Maybe that needs to be looked at, because I was just like, I heard that, I was like, what?
But you know what the scary thing about defunding the police, when people hear that though, the scary thing for the police officers is like, well, if y'all gonna do that, I'm gonna quit or I'm gonna go on strike.
Part of what I think is some of that money should be going back into their salaries, maybe. Instead of buying stuff that you may or may not need. Maybe it should go to making that job a little more prestigious. Teachers and police are like the lowest paid people in our community, and they're most important. So you wonder why, back to your cycle thing, you wonder why you need the police in the first place is because the people who are responsible for your kids are the lowest paid people in the country. So you get you may be attracting the wrong type of people.
Yeah.
So I think the people that are there that are good cops, right? That we all believe there's good cops, majority, right? So they need to be treated better. Like if you really want the best people to be in that job, you got to make sure that they're treated better. But you also need to make sure the community is treated better, so that the relationship between the two isn't always hostile. If we have an adversary relationship every time we see the police, every time I see a policeman I get nervous, then you're setting up a conflict from the beginning. Yeah. When I see a police officer, I shouldn't think trouble. I should think, oh, here's somebody to help me, and that's not always the case. That's what we need to fix.
And I think we have to and we talked about this kind of prior to the call, talked about another situation happened here in Atlanta, and we talked about, we saw, I don't know if anybody saw it yet, but just saw the video, and I forgot the guy's name. He's like trending on Twitter right now about his situation and him getting killed by the police. I think we got to have a real conversation about what's resisting arrest, because I think people think just because another group of people can do certain things and why can't we do that? It's just like, I don't think we have that luxury. Like I don't think as a black man in America I have the same luxury as a white man in America to resist the police and still have my life. And you know what I mean? So and I think that's just the scary part of it all. And even going back into that, like that still brings up the conversation when we start seeing these videos and we see more shootings of police officers. I mean, shootings of officers killing people. We see those videos, and that defunding the police is not a bad idea. But when it gets to the point where if a police officers or enough police officers, the good ones, say, hey man, this is not worth all this, we're gonna strike, or we're gonna just not do this anymore, and it's a low police crime rises when there's not a lot of police stuff. And I think we gotta figure that out as a community, like what's the best result of this? Because at the end of the day, you like, I heard somebody talk about, they asked this same question and somebody was like, you have the privilege to call the police if somebody break in your house, because they made that like the sentiment of what happens if somebody break in your house.
It was a bad messenger for this whole
it
was a bad messenger, because I was watching it and they were like, so you're disbanding the police, so if I call the police, what's gonna happen? Like, well, it's a privilege to go. And everything she answered in such a confusing way. It was like, answer the question, what's gonna happen? And I think the reason she didn't answer is because she doesn't know. They basically said, we're gonna disband the police and we're gonna take a year to figure out what comes. Figure it out first before you start talking about that kind of stuff. Reimagine the policing that you envision and clearly explain it to us before you just say you're gonna get rid of it. That causes confusion. So it's just bad messaging. Fix it. Yeah. If you really want this to happen, please change it.
Two things. Two good laws came in effect. The Breonna Taylor law of you have to you got to verify yourself, and then the no chokehold law with Eric Gardner, that law kicked in. So we're getting stuff done. It's a good thing. It's a good time. Stuff is getting done. But I think we got a whole
that we should be the church.
Yeah.
When you hear we're getting stuff done, when Jeremiah just said that, if you were like, black people, that shouldn't be the answer. Liberals shouldn't be the answer. Church, yes. Church. Yeah. Are we getting stuff done here? I don't know if we are even involved in a lot. That's terrible.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Let's get back into it. You're in the field with the Trackstarz, Ryan Righteous, Sean Tanner, DJ Maya. Let's go.